Okay, hello. Today we have Coach Juli here for Autocomplete interview. Okay, let's go. Okay, why is acting so hard?
Acting is so hard because you're trying to do something that humans do naturally, but you're trying to manufacture it a little bit. So, exist as a character who is present, but you are not that person. You're just not that person. You are someone acting as somebody else. So, to do that and to be genuine and to really embody the character and exist in the character is really hard because you're trying to fight yourself, Juliana brain, plus character brain, and they're in conflict sometimes. You know, like I can be on like a 10-hour shoot day and I'm on my 10th hour and I'm so exhausted, I'm so tired, I'm sweating, I haven't eaten for like the whole day, I'm so thirsty, but I got no time to drink water. But in this one scene, I have to act like I'm so comfortable and so cozy, or like I'm really like enjoying life. So conflict. So I think that's why it's so hard. You're always yourself, which is like you can't come out of yourself. That's impossible. But you're also trying to have another person exist within your body.
Yeah,
It's so hard.
I think a lot of people think that acting is about lying. Like people always say like, oh, actors are the best liars. No, actually, some actors make the worst liars because acting is not about lying. Acting is about telling the truth.
Yeah.
It's telling the truth from somebody else's perspective. So, how do you grasp the truth of somebody else's brain, somebody else's heart? I think that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get characters that are so different from you, and that is so difficult. That's always a challenge, because there is nothing within you that you can tap into to understand them. I can play the most like evil character, but I need to think that I am the most righteous person.
Like what I do is completely justified.
And I have to justify it for myself as the character, like why I'm doing this really evil thing, for example. And I think that's sometimes very hard. But it really stretches your empathy to try and think in another person's perspective.
So I don't like it when people say that we're just pretending to be someone else. In that moment, your body doesn't think that you're pretending. Your body actually is reacting like you are grieving. Your body actually thinks you're going through grief. When you're in love, your body in that moment actually, if you're very present, the body actually thinks, oh yeah, you are in love. Yeah. Anyway.
That's why it's so hard.
Okay. Why is theatre important to society?
Ooh, because from the moment humans could talk, they were already telling stories. Theatre is just storytelling, and it's live, so it feels so real because like anything could go wrong. Like every time I go for a prolonged period of time without watching a theatre show and I watch maybe only movies or TV shows, I always feel like something is missing. And it's always that live factor. When I watch a theatre show, it's exciting because it's like a character is walking backwards and you're like, oh my god, like don't bump into that table, like don't fall down, so it feels so real, even though of course they've rehearsed it, but things can also go wrong. So that's always exciting to me. That's one of the things that I like with theatre because it's living people. And sometimes, like especially if you sit really close and you see them in the flesh, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a real person. So you really feel like they're a real person. So whatever their experience is, you feel like it's so real. It's not like cool like camera shots and of course film and movies are amazing. Yeah, but theatre is real. It's humans telling stories.
And I think like enlarging the conversation, like art is important to society, but specifically why theatre is because theatre is kind of like a total art form. So there are many art forms within theatre, like visual arts, like performing arts, even like digital art, like in a lot of theatre productions we see now. So there's like sound art, So the theatre allows for multiple art forms to come together, and that's why I think it's important, because if art is important and if there's a specific art form that brings other art forms together, I think that's very exciting. Yeah. Okay. Okay, why is drama important in schools?
In schools.
Okay, I guess this person googled this is because like in the UK or in I think some schools in Australia, they include drama in the curriculum. It's like, you know, in Singapore it's like art classes and music classes, like every primary school student, they go through it, right? And some secondary schools, they do offer drama, and some JCs as well. So I think maybe this person googled this because maybe it's included in their curriculum and they're like, why?
Why?
Yeah.
All waste of time. What are we learning about? Midsummer Night's Dream.
Shakespeare. Who is
Oh
that?
man, who is this?
Okay. So why is it important to be taught in schools as a subject, I guess? I mean, for me, it is important. Firstly, right, I think teaching drama in school is a good way to introduce topics that might seem a bit drier to talk about in an engaging way. So, for example, I know there are like attempts also in Singapore, I think, to try and teach like maybe history through drama. And that's because maybe a lot of students, they feedback that history classes are dry and boring and things like that. But when you dramatize a history class, then a lot of students, maybe they are like visual learners or auditory learners or kinesthetic learners, when they see it being played out in front of them, or when the teacher dramatizes it, it sinks in better in their brains. They don't just remember it better, but they also like get to maybe experience it for themselves. It becomes real to them. But that's more like the practical aspect. That's like me talking about if drama is being used to teach other subjects. But I think drama itself, just like why in Singapore it's mandatory to take like art classes in primary school, is music classes in primary school, is because it opens a different part of the brain also. I think in another video we talk about how drama is a good way to teach empathy to kids and students. Drama can also discuss like mental wellness, emotional well-being, not just physical well-being. So there are really like a lot of benefits to adding drama to the curriculum. One of the only subjects that you actively interact, like you have to interact with other people in your class within the lesson. So a lot of other classes, like you're made to just keep quiet the whole class, don't talk, don't interrupt. But then in drama it's different, right? You have to talk to someone in class. I think it's a good way to also show our kids that like, it's like the schools, they're not just teaching you to, hey, keep quiet, don't talk. Your opinion is not important. It's more of like, when is the right forum to share my opinion? How do I share it confidently? How do I share it with tact and sensitivity? So all of that can be taught in drama classes.
Yeah. Actually, when you were talking about how to introduce different topics, I never learned drama, but I had like, I think a year or a term where we had literature. And for some reason, the second literature text that we did was a play. So we did a play adaptation of To Kill a Mockingbird. I would not have read the book. I was like 13 or something. Yeah, if I saw the book, I would be like, I'm not reading this, it's so many words. But we had to do the play version in lit class. And that was the first time I was introduced to heavier topics like segregation. And you know, if this was introduced during history class, it would have just been a very distant or kind of dehumanized topic that you're just learning about, because it's just facts. It's like how we learned about like World War II or whatever, it's just facts. I remember the numbers, the years in which it started, I remember the prominent names. But then when you see it in play form and you see characters come alive, it suddenly becomes human. And I think that's one way of humanizing things that usually seem so distant, that are actually very important to see the human aspect of it. I think drama is one of the only areas where people are important. The human is important. It's not just numbers or graphs or data, it's people. And I think that's super important.
That's our attempt at answering some very frequently googled questions about acting, theatre and drama. Thank you.
Bye! Hope you learned something new today. Bye!